Hi guys, it's RRPG here, and it's time for another 2 cents video from yours truly. First of all, the game I am playing on screen is Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation, which re-released on the PlayStation Network back in November 2009. That was right around the time when my right ring finger had an unfortunate accident at my last part-time job. Nasty. Anyway, Resident Evil 2 is a game that started Hideki Kamiya's directing career as a game designer, and this is some of his best work for Resident Evil. When you look at this game, it truly is a masterpiece in both action and puzzle solving, as they are equally balanced. Plus, it introduced the Chuck Norris of the RE series, Leon S. Kennedy. Alright, let us get on with today's topic, and this is one that was posted on Gamasutra for over a month now, but I've obtained an excerpt of the interview from GameSpot. Now, I know this is old news, but I truly can't let this slide. Not to mention, I mentioned about this news story during an episode of my Let's Play of Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, but didn't go in depth about what I think of this interview as a whole. With Resident Evil 2 playing in the background, the news bit is in relation to survival horror games and Resident Evil's future as a whole, and it doesn't have me very excited. Masachika Kawada, the current head producer of the Resident Evil franchise, had an interview with Gamasutra right around the time when Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City released, and he thinks that the series needs to be more focused on action rather than what established Resident Evil to begin with. Basically, what he's saying is that Resident Evil 6 needs to follow the same path that Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5 went through in terms of the gameplay, but the newer games should go up a step further. And here is a quote from what he stated about the survival horror genre. Looking at the marketing data for survival horror games, the market is small compared to the number of units Call of Duty and all those action games sell. A survival horror Resident Evil doesn't seem like it would be able to sell those kinds of numbers. Kawada added that it's not necessary to make the series Call of Duty-like, but suggested that there may be room for the series to try the old survival horror approach or entirely new territory through a spin-off or side game. My first question to Mr. Kawada is this: what the hell do you think you're doing to Shinji Mikami's franchise that he created? Where in his mind said to him that Resident Evil games need to be more action-oriented? You see, taking this direction from what people really enjoyed about the series is only going to add more fuel to the fire and wanting to raid you and Capcom with complete hatred. You see, this is one of the many reasons why Japanese developers are falling so far behind, is not only do they not put in so much emphasis in making their games good, but they want to try and grab a slice of the American pie by making their games follow in the same direction that Call of Duty is heading towards. Games like Resident Evil and Final Fantasy do not need to follow in Call of Duty's example, and I'm also talking about you, Square Enix, but that's another story for later. Resident Evil is a series that was created by Shinji Mikami, where he made a game that was different from most other games at the time, and it was praised heavily by critics and fans as being a revolutionary franchise that paved the way for the survival horror genre. It is one of the franchises that made you become very huge, like Mega Man, Final Fight, Breath of Fire, Dino Crisis, Onimusha, Devil May Cry, Beautiful Joe, Okami, and so many of those others, because it was different from the rest of the crowd, and it didn't need to be changed at any given time. While RE4 introduced the dramatic horror genre that you guys are taking the series, at least the game did manage to keep the old survival horror elements in it, and Shinji Mikami was involved to make sure that the game didn't yield away from those merits. Resident Evil 5 was more of a complete joke, as it's more like a Michael Bay film and nothing more. You see, taking the route in making Resident Evil become more like Call of Duty is like taking a series and throwing out all of those things and what made it famous to begin with. Doing this kind of stuff only makes the games become more of a generic action game that has very shallow characters who do not become very likable or memorable, like Sheva Alomar from Resident Evil 5. Ugh, God, that woman is a monkey wrench with no importance. If that isn't enough to criticize you, Capcom, then why are you having Spark Unlimited develop the new Lost Planet 3? And why in the holy mother of hell did you make Slant 6 Games work on Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City to begin with? What the hell has happened to you guys? You used to be one of my favorite video game companies when I grew up with the NES and SNES, along with Konami and Square. Even though their business models are also running down to crapper because of the idiotic choices they are making when it comes to delivering their games, you guys are on equal par and probably far worse. Think about it, Capcom. Ever since Keiji Inafune left, and with you guys canceling Mega Man Universe and Mega Man Legends 3, I knew you don't have the gall to make newer games in the many franchises that establish you as one of the best publishers and developers from around the world. Those Western partnerships and all of those things you are doing to make games like Resident Evil become like Call of Duty, and releasing too many iterations of Street Fighter 4 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is just continuing to make me sick. Plus, what is up with the lame DLC for your games where you are blatantly making people pay for more on older content than the newer stuff? If you are going to continue to do this stuff within your business for the next 10 years or so, then I'm afraid that you will be on the verge of collapse and people will forget you even existed. All I am trying to say is that when it comes to your properties like Resident Evil, for instance, they shouldn't distance themselves in a radically different direction unless the original elements of those games are still present. If you look at the Metroidvania style of Castlevania games, they are great because Koji Igarashi kept the overall impression of the traditional Castlevania format still intact when making those awesome entries like Symphony of the Night, Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, and Order of Ecclesia, to name a few. You guys need to wake up, smell the coffee, and come to terms with what made Resident Evil so great, or many people like me won't continue to buy your games. Oh, and if it is true that the next Mega Man game is going to end up as a generic FPS game, then consider me hating you for the rest of my life, with Level 5 being my newest favorite developer. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think there is hope for Capcom? Do you think they will take time to mend peace with their fans? Or do you think that it is already too late and that Capcom is on the verge of being forgotten? Be sure to leave a comment below and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this. And be sure to rate this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. This is RRPG signing off, and thanks for watching.